Hey everybody, we're seeing the attendees start trickling in here. Super exciting, super exciting. So if you can hear me, let me know. In addition, let me know where you're calling in from. So I'm currently in North Carolina. I've got Jacques on with me. Jacques, where are you calling in from?
I am here in San Diego,
Beautiful. I miss
Diego,
it for sure.
California, for those people in the world that may not know exactly where San Diego is.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, Jacques has an awesome there. You guys' like office, studio, warehouse thing is like in such a cool part of town. It's in the heart of Little Italy. Walking distance to like breweries and coffee shops and
There's a
great
lot of
ice cream.
there's a lot of cool stuff down here for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I'm right outside of Charlotte too, Pierre. Nice to meet you. Yeah, shoot me a note. Very cool. So yeah, we're getting people hopping in. Wow, look at all these people. New York City. Yeah, let me know where you guys are calling in from. We're gonna give it another minute or two for people to kind of like get their Zoom set up, get in here, all that stuff. Huge shout out to all you attendees who are in right now, because I know Zoom can be definitely challenging. Seattle, awesome. San Diego, yeah. Boston. I see you, Jacques. Wuhan, wow, amazing. Oxford, Houston, San Jose, New Zealand, Montreal, Phoenix, Victoria. Wow. This is like literally like all over the world. So, man, you guys are in a treat. You guys are going to get to learn from an incredible individual who's like truly an expert in his field in so many ways. And not only that, but I think he's hilarious and he's a good person. So I think that's like you're like a great guy in addition to like
Man,
being a badass in what you do. And
that
sometimes you
is
don't
so.
always see that.
I love that. Hey, Tom, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, and it's been so fun getting to know you more because I've known of Tom Spines, and it's kind of like one of those weird things where I never connected it because I've always known you as Thomas.
Hmm.
And then I was like, of course you're Tom Spines. Of course it's you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I should turn this around. You guys to see that crazy battle station I have set up. I do most of the unboxings, right? That's why it's all clean back there. But awesome, guys. Well, let's get this party started. Wow, look at all these awesome people hopping in. So let's go. I'm gonna go over some kind of some housekeeping bits before I introduce this incredible gentleman. So you'll notice at the bottom there's a Q&A button. If you have questions, which I'm sure you will, unfortunately, we won't have a ton of time at the end, but we should have some time to get a couple questions answered. So get those questions in there, and we'll do our best to get those answered. And I'm so excited. This is definitely one of the talks that I've been personally just so stoked to attend. So I'm happy that I get to actually watch it as well. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jacques. He's the founder, CEO, rainmaker, if you will, of Raindrop Marketing. They make badass videos and do all sorts of cool stuff. But I'll let Jacques tell you all about himself and tell you a little bit about what he's going to be talking to you guys about today.
Perfect. Well, guys, first of all, thank you to Thomas for inviting me part of this summit. I had the opportunity yesterday. I listened to Mark's presentation. So if you haven't, I think his last name is Piscata or Piscoda, and I apologize if I'm messing up his last name, but he's with LaunchBoom. And that one presentation, I felt like saved so many people, so many headaches, and so much money along the way. So it's amazing to see this summit, and for people who are looking to either launch or to scale what they do, this is such a great opportunity. And I myself, I'm going to be speaking to the scaling component of this, and we'll give you a little background on what we're going to go over. All right. So in this session, this is something that I've purposely crafted for this audience, but it's a talk that I actually give internally to help our team understand how to make ads that really sell, right? Because you can make videos, you can make all sorts of commercials and everything else, but when it comes to actually making something that can get 1 million views, 10 million views, 100 million views, it takes a different way of thinking, and that's what I'm going to be presenting to you guys today. So we're going to cover how to break through the noise, how to structure a story that sells, which is actually really interesting. I think that that's like we tell stories in a way that you can't use for online. And so it takes a relearning of how to tell a story. Simple tips that make a really big impact. I would say if you're going to make notes throughout this, I mean, I hope you do, that would be the area to write these tips down. The do's and don'ts of using humor, I think that is sort of a next level thing, or where people want to use humor, but they're not sure how. And we've made mistakes along the way over the last couple of years. I'd love to teach you guys. And then finally, we have examples of simple ads that scale and why. So this is a new section I added just for you guys, because I was like, if I had less than $5,000, $2,000, what would I do to make a successful ad? So I wanted to show you guys some really affordable ads, some really clever ads that have worked, that have made millions of dollars in sales. All right, so a little background on who I am, just so you know where the context is coming from. I won't go over the list of clients here, but I'm the CEO of Raindrop. Started this about a decade ago. Along the way, I would classify myself as a storyteller, in the sense that, won 2 Emmy Awards, 38 International Film Awards for a documentary I helped put together. We just found out that we have the top performing ad of 2020 for TrueView on YouTube, which was a huge honor. That was a spot that we made for Dr. Swatch. And that ad in particular, it's the top performing ad of the entire year on the platform. So really exciting. We've done over 350 million views on our videos over the last 18 months, and generating over $200 million in sales for these clients. And we're a little bit unique in comparison to a lot of the crowdfunding conversation, is that we are sort of the agency that people work with once they start hitting like a $3 million run rate, where you're doing about $250,000 a month in sales, and you're looking, you've gotten things up and running, but it's like, how do I get to that next level? How do I get to 10? How do I get to 20 million? If I'm at 20, how do I get to 100? That's where these brands start to come in and work with us. All right. So I figured let's start the day out, or if you're in a different part of the world where you're ending out your day, let's start with some good news. 45% of people watch more than an hour of video or YouTube videos a week. That's a lot. That's a lot of time being spent consuming video. And I should add TikTok into this, because again, another huge opportunity where there's a lot of people consuming, but not a lot of people making enough video content. The bad news, I would just call it the challenge, but it didn't go with the frowny face. More video content is uploaded in 30 days than major US television networks have created in 30 years. So the velocity of content is insane. I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody, but I wanted to use that as a contextual point to make this point. You have to break through the noise. So no matter how you approach this, you always have to think about the fact that, we use things like thumb stopping, scroll stopping, unskippable, or less likely to skip. You really have to think about, how am I going to break through the noise? Visually, how am I going to have a compelling story I'm telling? How am I honoring people's attention? And ultimately, what am I giving them? And that could be a laugh, it could be knowledge, it could be a smile. But as advertisers, our job is to create something that breaks through the noise and ask people to take an action. And so we're gonna go over all of that here today. So here is the crux. This is the number one thing that when we hire a new person, I have to have them unlearn. Because we spend, let's say that, someone's 25 years old, 30 years old. We spend that much time learning how to tell a story in this pattern, which is that we start with a lead in, we build towards something, the climax happens later in the storyline, and then in the case of advertising, there's an offer and there's branding. And I will say that typically when you look at like a 30-second commercial, a minute commercial, like all of these amazing Nike ads on right now, it might start out and you don't even know it's really for Nike, and then by about 10 seconds in, you're like, wow, like this is really getting exciting, and all of a sudden it's like, boom, Nike, and then it fades out and there's like black with text, and you're like, ooh, that was awesome. Well, that's a great commercial, but it doesn't work for the internet because it just assumes attention and it assumes a response. So most people come in wanting to make Nike commercials. I'm like, that's great. But if you actually want stuff to sell, you got to think totally different about your storyline. I'm going to show you guys that storyline. This is what we call the new story arc. I didn't make this up. This came from YouTube itself. And so it's all about this idea of starting high, starting with a climax. and then maintaining connection, and then moving into an offer and resolution, and then continuing to move through product demonstration. It's interesting when I think about these anchor videos that we make. In an anchor video, we're well known for the couple that we've done now for Dr. Squatch. William Painter is another one, that scaled over 60, 70 million views. Shady Rays. All of these videos follow a similar format, but obviously have very much their own unique flair. And I realized this in working with Works Power Tools that ultimately these ads are much like a modern day version of the infomercial where you used to click on the television and wait 30 minutes or 15 minutes and you saw this whole thing. And then the products could always do one more thing. It's like, oh, did you think about using it this way? Did you think about using it that way? Oh, and by the way, there's free shipping for a limited time. And so that format for the internet very much works as long as you can hold and maintain connection. And so I put some extra notes in here. I know that we're recording this, and I'm sure you can take a little screenshot or whatever to take this, but this idea of starting high with a problem statement, something that hooks people, challenges them, challenges their perception of reality, super important up front. Starting with a big climax and reveal, and then maintaining connection. And the middle part of this presentation is gonna be all about those little tips and tricks that's gonna help you to break through the noise and maintain that connection. All right. So before I play this is just some examples of openings to some of our videos, and you'll feel like if you're on YouTube, and I always think about it in terms of YouTube, because if you do it well for YouTube, you can do it well for Facebook and Instagram too, but the first 5 seconds, challenging you to just not skip. So I'm gonna show you a couple of openings here.
Soap you shower with? It's you probably haven't even questioned what bar soap you lather up with. Let's face it, most guys don't. They're still using whatever bar their mommy bought for her little man. Is that what you want? To smell like mama's little man? Ugh.
Do you want a perfect lawn? Does a sloppy yard make you want to just... Me too. Yard work is hard work, but it doesn't have to be. This is the GT Revolution.
Your face is your moneymaker, so why would you pair it with cheap plastic? And why does some plastic cost $500? It's time for you to rethink your face. Man, I look good.
Wearing a watch feels great, until you realize you're wearing a basic watch like everyone else. Just another sheep in a flock of minimalist, overpriced, and downright boring timepieces.
All right. So those openings were to what we call anchor videos. They tend to be a 2 to 3 minute video, but the idea, the concept is holistic in the sense of you can't assume anyone's attention. You have to do something in the beginning that grabs their attention. It doesn't need to use humor, but it can. I also, for the sake of just showcasing the different ways to tell stories, and they're actually what you'll see more so at the end of this presentation with some examples is, there are different ways to tell this story. So there's the explainer type video, which is a problem statement and then an immediate solution. So like later on when we look at like ComOptics, we're gonna see an ad from them, very much an explainer. And then we have the product demo. I used a video from Truff later on, so we'll look at that. And then we have the straight offer, which I would say is more so another Dr. Squatch kind of called man on the street style video that I'll show you later. So I want to let you guys feel and see these different ways to start immediately with a different problem statement or a different action, but they all can work. I would say that the more climactic you can make the first 5 seconds, the more you sink your talons and your teeth into the audience and earn an additional 15 to 20 seconds up front that they'll invest in watching your spot. Of course, the goal is to try to make them enjoy as much of it as possible and to click the link or to take some sort of action. All right, so here's where we get into the tips and tricks section. And this is something that, how do I put it? As we went from, you know, one full-time videographer and myself to a team of 25 producers and videographers. You know, we have a full team of about 50 people, but just that one production department, we have 3 full-time photographers, you know, 5 full-time videographers, soon to be 6. I had to start coaching and teaching our team how to do these things that maybe came more naturally, or, you know, were just immediately identifiable. And so this next section is really simple tricks that make a ton of difference. So the first thing is attention. The number one mistake I see advertisers make is that they assume that people will watch their ad. Never assume that, ever, 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 ever. And the fact that maybe they make a great opening, but the first 10 seconds only earns you another 10. It's sort of like a locomotive that you need to keep shoveling coal into to create that momentum. So if you have a great joke in the opening or a great hook, make sure you're continuing to bring people through every 10 seconds. We usually move very quickly with cuts. Again, another thing that I can't tell you, I see people go out and they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire a very big agency to make them an ad. And, you know, you go to play it and the first cut is like 7 to 8 seconds long. And I'm like, are you just asking to be skipped? Like, do people not understand? They don't move fast enough. Make sure to always, I would say everywhere from 3 to 5 seconds, you're usually cutting to a different angle. We want to be moving quickly. Always be looking for impact, and something I always think about is shaking people out of their mindset. You know, they're not there to watch your ad. So what are you going to do to get them to stop scrolling, or they're there on YouTube to see a different video? What are you going to do to make them not want, like, to watch your video because they think it's going to be better than what they're about to watch anyway? Connection. So connection's super important. A couple little tips here is people's face. People respond to seeing people, to seeing their face. And so a lot of times it's not like universal, you have to see people's face, but just realize that faces create connection. And I think it's really important, what we've come to learn is that, you know, people in, this is a US statistic, is that the average reading grade level is 6th grade. And that really matters because sometimes we can get really sophisticated with our humor, or we get really, and we lose so many people with either the language we use. You know, I always joke, but I think it's important that in the original Dr. Squatch video, when we say your poor balls, all dry, empty, and sad, you know, that means more to people than like glycol and, you know, all these like chemicals. It's like people resonate with a really simple form of language. And also when it comes to connection, we always anticipate that it will take up to 6 to 10 touches to move people through a funnel. And every product, every brand's different, but we never want to lose sight of that. Also, emojis, they totally work. It's how we communicate with each other. Don't be afraid to use them. I just wanted to throw that out there. It is a language now that is universal and that people use. Also, another great tip or trick, never ever forget that 85% of people on Facebook and Instagram have their sound off when they are watching an advertisement. And so whenever we make an ad, we're always trying to think, how is someone going to experience this without the sound on? And we use rev.com, rev.com for creating the actual subtitling and the SRT files. But I can't stress enough, and actually later on, I purposely put an example of an ad that has no sound, so I wanted you to experience how that looks and feels and how it can still work. Validation. So reviews and testimonials really matter. Human reactions attract. You know, we're going to look at one later. When we say man on the street, we talk, it's kind of our version of going out, finding strangers, seeing how they react to people. You know, human reactions really matter. And I've been fascinated by, there's a whole genre, right, on YouTube and on TikTok of just people reacting to other people's videos. And people watch people reacting to other people's videos. And so human reactions really matter when it comes to your products, because you're trying to translate things through the screen, how something feels, how something smells, how something makes you feel through a screen. Those human reactions really matter. And that's with the conveying of the senses. And I'll also add emotion here. So I don't know if you guys have ever read the book, Never Split the Difference. If you haven't, I'd recommend it. It's a great book. It's on negotiation. But one of the studies in that book, it's a book on negotiation, they were saying that there's a study where people have areas of their brain that have been damaged, where they aren't able to experience emotions. And what they found about people that have this sort of disability is that they don't have, they have the ability to logically explain to you a decision that they should make, but when it comes to actually making the decision, they have a hard time doing it. And I think of it very much like propane and needing a spark. And so never forget that, while logic helps to validate a decision, all decisions that people make at the end of the day have emotion attached to them. So, when I look at the work that we do with clients and with your product, you're not really selling a product. You're selling the emotion attached to your product. Does it make them feel safer, more in control? Does it make them feel a sense of like being a boss? Does it make them, what does it make them feel? And that's the number one thing that makes the difference between having a product and having a brand. And I remember Mark talked about that yesterday. Such a great point, the difference between having a product and a brand. Most people start out with, I have this great product, and people will love it. And maybe they will, but the important thing is what are those emotions that they should be experiencing and really bringing those out. So I'm glad you guys are still with me. I know I'm moving fast. This is another thing that I find myself telling a lot of clients, and I wanted to share with you, which is, people take themselves very seriously. And especially when they have serious brands. Crossrope's a great example. I mean, it's a premium product. Omigo, premium products, a $600-700 product. And so what I find is that people they're very nervous about using any sense of humor in their advertisements or doing things that don't feel like super polished. And I always have to remind them that, like, especially on YouTube, like people are there to watch makeup tutorials. Like, these are people looking up like pranks and prank shows, like videos of puppies and baby owls and reviews of products. And so if you want to be less skippable, you have to create ads that natively live in a world where people are there to consume these things. You're there to consume videos that are not commercials. And so we can't make a commercial in the traditional sense. We need to make content that sells, but happens to integrate into the flow of what people are watching. I remember talking to a watch brand that takes themselves, rightfully so, it takes themselves very seriously. And I'm like, look, we can show a beautiful shot of the sun glistening off of a barrel of whiskey and everything. Skip, right? It's like, it doesn't matter what you want to say if people are going to skip you. So you have to think about, what am I going to give them immediately? It's going to earn their attention. And that's just a reminder to us that why people are on these platforms. They're not there to consume advertising. They're there to consume entertaining content. All right, so, we always try to look at goals. And so with your advertising, you're always thinking about, are people aware that you exist? If you're launching a product for the first time on one of these crowdfunding sources, they don't know you exist. And are you crafting how you want to make people feel? I mentioned that earlier. And I do believe that a 5 to 15 second ad is sort of, it's now, but it's also the future. It's like, what can you do in 5 to 15 seconds that makes people want to visit your website? That's the ad inventory moving forward, unless you can make these completely unskippable ads. I think that 30-second format is going to continue to see less and less action and traction in the next 5 years. I'm going to move quickly through this section just to leave us a little bit more time for QA, but I think the biggest thing that I want to express with the call to action is that people are so painfully literal. Please make sure that when you make an ad, you are thinking about, what exactly am I asking people to do? And don't be afraid to ask them to do it multiple times. These are some examples of some effective CTAs. Click the link, tag a friend, share this video with someone that could actually use this. It's a really important one because a lot of times someone will consume an ad and they're like, oh, you know, that was a really cool video about a do-it-yourself pool fence. But then they'll get to the end of it and they'll be like, well, I don't own a pool. And so they'll just move on with their life. But if you're like, hey, you don't own a pool? No problem. Make sure you share this with someone that does. Well, that direct literal ask will increase the effectiveness of your ad. It could be the make or break difference of whether or not that ad scales. So I just want to plant that nugget and that seed in your guys' brains of what is that effective call to action that I'm putting in every video that I do. And then our do's and don'ts of humor. So using humor, I would say that humor isn't even the word I'd use. I don't think that everything we do is humorous. I think it's always entertaining. And humor is a spice in our repertoire, but it doesn't just have to be funny. And there's a difference between having funny moments and having a funny ad. And so when we're using humor, we're always super mindful of the demographic. You know, we do a lot of videos for people who are homeowners, for instance, for Works Power Tools. And so our ads tend to have different senses of humor. We're making jokes more so at the expense of millennials and Gen Z to that audience because they love it. They love jokes about your kid not moving out of the basement and everyone getting participation trophies. I mean, they love that stuff. And so we're always really mindful of the type of humor we're using and making sure that generationally we're connecting with people using that sense of humor. And then we tend to use humor to keep people's attention, to allow ourselves more room to give them educational information, and to soften the impact of the idea of watching a 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute ad. There's got to be something in it for them other than just education. It doesn't have to be, but it certainly helps. It's a kind of like a lubricant for that conversation to happen. Here's what we've learned though about what not to do. So anytime you're talking about unique selling propositions, like very serious things about what makes your brand, your product great, do not cross humor in with that. You want to allow those moments to be serious because you guys are serious about them. And so it's okay to say, like right now we're making a video for a really cool, it's like a chainsaw, but it's not a chainsaw, it's called a jaw saw. And so, you know, when we talk about the RPMs and when we talk about, you know, the functionalities of it, we're not making jokes about it. At the end of it, we might make a joke, but we don't want to do it during the giving the educational information about why this is a serious product. And then we also have learned not to exaggerate something that involves the senses. You know, if you're talking about the way something feels, the way something smells, if you do humor too over the top, then it just doesn't connect for people. It seeds doubt, and that's a super important thing to keep in mind. And then we don't want to use humor to describe something very literal. You know, if someone touches something and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so soft, you're going to be like, yeah, it doesn't mean anything to me. But if you see someone more literally touch it and be like, oh, that is really soft, I mean, you can feel the difference just in me saying it there. All right, let's do this. So how are we doing on time? We're doing good. I'm going to show you, I got about 4 to 5 minutes worth of ads to show you. These are effective, lower budget social ads that I would classify as top of the funnel ads that you would show to somebody who's never interacted with your brand. And all of these can be done pretty efficiently. This first one is not one that we made, but it's one of our newer clients, Com Optics. And I was so impressed with their ad library. I mean, they've been able to grow by millions of dollars this year. And so I wanted to share this with you because it's just really well done. It's very simple. I think it's something they shot with their iPhone.
Parents, if your kids spend any time on a tablet, you're going to need these blue light blocking glasses from Calm Optics. Digital blue light causes very harmful headaches and eye fatigue. As you can see here, these glasses block up to 99% of harmful digital blue light. Exclusively available on CalmOptics.com, the #1 blue light blocking glasses for kids. Available in both kids and adult sizes. Calm Optics. Stay calm and get your optics on.
Cool. So what I really wanted to share with you guys there is, If you watch that back with no audio, works 100%. Even the graphics, they're not anything crazy, but they work. And then they immediately address parents. The first word you see is parents. So if you're not a parent, you're gonna keep on skipping by, but if you're a parent, that's gonna grab your attention. Shows the product in use, it shows that test. Again, really not complicated, but you can see why it works. All right, this one is going to play with no sound. Okay, let's start back over. I think two things I want to add here. I want to point out that we went down to the beach in this case because people would have their shirts off there, and it would be a natural context for them to have their shirts off. So often I see people try to force maybe like a studio setting on this kind of thing, and it's like we went to where it was natural, have your shirt off. We brought a camping shower, just wet people down, let them respond and react. Having the female validation, as you can imagine, was huge for this. And again, it worked so well for Dr. Squatch. You don't need audio on. The ad tells its own story without having the video. And in this case, we use the top banner with the bottom banner, but there's so many different formats you can work in. Here's one for Truff. This is not an ad that we made. There's no audio on it. But I will just say this, I think Truff does a really great job. If you're a product under like $25 that is in the food space for some reason, they would be someone I would be following for sure. I just think they do a really great job of kind of pairing and pulling out these like senses through the screen that make you hungry. I don't know about you guys, like half of this ad isn't even the sauce. It's seeing the food that looks so good, and you're pairing that feeling with the sauce, taking it up a notch. And I think that that's the genius of an ad like this. If they were just pouring it on uninspired looking food, the ad wouldn't work. All right, so here's another example. This one's for Crossrope. This ad did so well for them. And I think one of the reasons is that it shows the product in use, shows candid reactions, can be seen with and without sound, but it also just makes the product so approachable, which I think is a big hurdle for most products to integrate it. How does this feel in my life? Am I the kind of person that can buy this product? I think this ad does a great job.
That's not your childhood jump rope.
That was a really good workout. That was good.
I haven't jumped rope since I was about 12 years old. So let's give this a try. You know, I thought I was getting cardio through my running, but I'm not. This 5 minutes, better than I ever had in my life. My prior workouts, nothing compared to this. I feel it in my arms and my shoulder, even my back a little bit. And my heart rate's really, really elevated, but it feels really good. I think that this can definitely be my thing.
For the first time jump roping, I actually felt it in my arm, so I liked having that full body aspect to it. The better the handles are able to spin, the less work that you have to do, and it kind of makes it effortless. And it's got some good spin on it.
Hey, that's actually pretty fun. The app was so easy to follow, and it gave me a lot of options like beginner, strength, HIIT, and endurance challenges, which was really cool.
I'm going to be able to mix it up and have my complete workout in this one little box.
I promise we're almost done. This is the last thing I'm going to show. It is a really fun side-by-side comparison video. This video has performed really well as well in terms of that top of funnel engagement and giving people sort of that problem solution right up front. fun with that too is you imagine in a Facebook ad, if we were to use this kind of as a gallery view with the products underneath or the boxes underneath, grabs your attention, walks you through a storyline. And the point of this was, hey, you're going to spend 90, 100 bucks on a baby, on a baby gift anyway. You might as well give it with impact. So obviously ad copy helps with this. Final slide before we get to QA. This is just sort of a summary, but overall guiding principles to keep in mind. You want to have that clear call to action. You want to win in the first 5 seconds. You can't see success without thinking about what are people seeing and hearing in those first 5 seconds. Short and sweet and fast. Keep your cuts moving. Doesn't need to be a minute and a half. It can be 30 seconds, 15 seconds. It doesn't really matter as long as the action's clear. If the action is to get them to a website or landing page, then that's success. And then make it for mobile. A lot of times I see people use wide shots. I didn't add that in, but they'll use these wide shots, which look great if you're holding your phone, this way. But most people consume their content with their phone vertically, and all of a sudden you lose that connection because the people on the screen are too small. So, Tom, I know that you've been here for emotional and technical support, so I appreciate it.
That I am.
So I will let you help transition us into Q&A here. I don't know if I need to stop sharing the screen.
Yeah, go ahead and stop sharing your screens. They can see your beautiful face.
I'm here.
Awesome. So yeah, guys, how was that? Wasn't that incredible? I know I was taking notes. I thought that was awesome. I love the examples. I love how actionable that was. I thought that was amazing. So again, you can even see, even before I asked how you were doing, you were getting a ton of love in the chat. So I don't know if you saw that.
I can't see anything, but I appreciate it, guys.
It's okay. I'll send you screenshots. So yeah, it was awesome.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, we do have some questions, and we do have time for some questions. So again, use that Q&A tool, everybody at the bottom. So let's get these questions.
Yeah, Tim, you want me to just knock them out? Let's see.
Yeah. So I can go through them for you.
I'll take them here. So someone asked recommendations on getting actors for filming our own videos, and are the actors? So great question. And that is the difference between a good video and a great video is finding someone who is comfortable with connecting with people. One of our little secret sauces is that we found a lot of our talent through a local comedy club. We went to, like James Schrader, literally he was 34, 35 years old. We went to a comedy show, we saw him and we're like, oh my gosh, we got to put you in a soap ad, man. And now his face has been seen like 500 million times. And people like stop him on the street and they're like, you're that guy. But what we find with comedians is that they're used to performing. They kind of know how people respond and react to things. I think the biggest thing we have to coach them on is you always have to keep your energy up, in an ad. We also see a lot of just people who want to act. And so we connect with local talent agencies or regional talent agencies to get reads in. And once you have a script and you get reads, it kind of falls out of there, and you can get great acting for even $40, $50 an hour. It's not like it needs to be this SAG contract type of thing, although you can work with SAG. Someone asks, if I have a 15-second ad, what's a good quantity of cuts to use? I've seen a lot of ads that really overuse them, and it's nauseating at times. Great question. I mean, I would say that you wouldn't want one 15-second cut. My thing is you can kind of feel when it's not enough if you're paying attention to it. And what I always like to do is show other people the ads, because I will start, like, if I watch it myself, I won't feel it. But if I show it to just my wife and I'm showing her an ad, I'll be like, ugh, I wish it would just move a little faster right there. Like the next scene's so good. And so just showing someone else the ad will kind of give you some pacing. Do you have recommendations on text size and placement? I think that the Facebook, I think, has like a 20% rule anyway. So we've just always stuck to less than 20% of the screen. I don't know if that's helpful. And then the slides, that was all done in PowerPoint. We have a very talented team. They help put together all the cool animations. How to write a great script. Oh man, that is the century. Because I mean, we have 4 or 5 writers on our team, and we partner them with full-time comedians. So we have like 12 to 15 people that go into writing most of our scripts. When we were smaller, it was just us coming up with some stuff. And so that's, yeah, I don't have a good answer for how to write a great script other than following at least the guidelines of starting high and introducing your problem statement, and then giving people something that makes them smile, makes them feel better about their day. Do we have anything else that I need to answer here? I don't know if I can see.
I think there are some still coming in. So we'll go ahead.
TikTok. So TikTok's the answer is sort of. I spend about an hour to 2 hours a day on TikTok. I love the platform. I actually use it as an incubator for understanding how to grab that attention, because the whole platform is based on, do I keep scrolling, or is what I'm saying grabbing your attention? And so we have, some of our videos have taken openings from those type of ads or those type of videos. TikTok is a platform we are just starting to get on, because I hate to put it this way, but it's like our clients are seeing so much success on YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram that they're not super incentivized to try, to go into the pastures that are TikTok. But I know it's coming, and I know we're literally hiring. Like, one of my interview questions now is, how much time do you spend on TikTok, to our producers and our videographers? Because I'm like, I want people that love the platform to be part of this next year. But we haven't run a lot of ads yet on it.
Yeah, that's it's funny you say that too, because a lot of people assume that TikTok is primarily like middle school kids and stuff. That is not the case at all. It's actually shifted. There's kind of like a dark side to this that's like kind of gross, but the primary, because like the creators are like younger, but the people that primarily consume on TikTok now are men that are older. So again, there's like kind of like a weird dark side, but again, that being said, the light side of it is ads should perform well on there for like Dr. Squatch and William Painter and all that.
Yeah, we'll see. That took a weird.
I know. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Any advice to film a crowdfunding video? Honestly, if you can afford it, I would 1,000,000% work with LaunchBoom. We have worked with a couple of LaunchBoom's success stories, if that makes sense. And that's before we even knew who they were. We just kept crossing paths with like the Backblades of the world and people who were coming through.
William Painter, yeah,
great example. William Painter too. And so,
and Dr. Squatch.
Yes, and Dr. Squatch. So our worlds keep colliding. And so I would just say, study those videos and the ones that are successful, and start breaking down using some of the framework I just talked about. Use some of those principles. I'd also say too, the differences on Kickstarter, like you can assume a little bit more attention. People are there to watch the video, to learn about your product. So it is different than advertising. You have a little bit more leeway because people aren't just going to skip you after 5 seconds. They're going to give you at least 25, I hope, before they're just like, nah. Let's see. Insights on how men and women react differently to videos. Yes. With men, we always say, and it's a funny joke, but it's real. We say that men never evolve past a middle school boy sense of humor. And so it doesn't matter if you're 65. Like my favorite story from the week is someone that goes to my church, like their wife was like, oh, my husband just showed me this like hilarious video. And I was like, oh yeah, like Jacques made that. And so, it's like your poor balls all dry, empty and sad. Like, it's funny when you're 65 as a man. Now my wife doesn't think any of those things are funny. And so like when we did our video for No Nuts or We Ship Floors on our website, the jokes are a little bit more, I don't know how to put it. They're more based around, I'll call it bad mom humor. It's kind of like this edgy mom humor, but not gross and not boyish. And so it's always important to just, I would just study too, like what we're doing on our website, because we have to bridge those different audiences. Also, Lumi did a great job working with Harmon Brothers on their campaigns for approaching women. They used musicals and dancing and all sorts of other things. So again, it's like, my wife loves musicals. That was a smart move. Is it advisable to start a video off with a few big keywords that the attention grabber? I don't, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know that I've ever thought about specifically the words, because for me, I mean, it's actually more visual. Like, we have a video out for Luxury Bazaar right now. It's getting like a 3% click-through rate on YouTube, which is insane, because the action behavior on YouTube usually allows for a much lower click-through rate, because most people open a different browser tab on their phone. They'll hit like the Safari button or the Chrome button, and it'll register as a more direct view. And we started out with just a pile of burning money and someone saying, do you like burning money, right? And so for me, it's more about the visual impact rather than what's being said, and it won't perform well, as we talked about, with 85% of your audio being off. It won't present well unless that visual impact's there. I'd almost argue it doesn't matter what you're saying if that visual impact's not there.
I've got a question for you, and I'll kind of like translate a couple of these. Would you work on a crowdfunding video? And if you would, I guess it's more like, what's your target demographic? You kind of mentioned that at the beginning. If you were to work on a, like, for example, if like even us at Launch, we're like, hey, Jacques, we've got a great client that would love to use you for a video to knock that out. Would you take those kinds of clients, or would you not? And if so, what would the like costs be?
No, great question. I would say that my advice to most people is that, okay, for instance, when you work with LaunchBoom, I believe you guys put most people through a small program to kind of do some testing to figure out, like, where's the baseline, where's the floor, right? And so you have to do that work, or else you're literally taking a swing at a fence that might be in the wrong direction to hit a home run. Like, and so we don't, because like our mini anchor videos, which is like a two-minute product, is about a $50,000 type of video, and our full anchor campaigns start like 100,000. That's why we work best with brands who are already doing a $3 to $4 million run rate, because we have enough baseline understanding of how to improve upon their best performing ad they've ever done, right? And so if they made an ad that gets them like a 1.8 or a 2.8 ROAS top of funnel, well, let's shoot for 4.8. Let's figure out how to accomplish that. That's the metrics. And so I would say that my advice actually counter to this is to say, think about beta all the time. What do I need to do? And that's why I include those 5 videos, because those 5 videos, like, we're launching our own direct-to-consumer brand next year. That's where we're starting. We're not slating an anchor style video for 8 months into the business, because even though we know what we want to do, because we're like, there's just too much to learn. And one of the questions around, and that's what I love about what LaunchBoom, what you guys do, is that you help people learn, and we help take people from basically like a plateau that they'll hit. William Painter and Dr. Squatch were at like $3 million in sales after 5 years. We 5x William Painter sales in a week. In a week. Like, after 5 years of taking just to get there. And so it's like, that's the type of thing that this content can do. You just shouldn't and can't take that risk before you've learned some of these things. And so again, that's why I put the $3 million run rate, because we're just finding that these conversations don't make sense until people have learned enough. And it's not just video, it's investing into everything, the website and your email marketing campaigns and everything else.
Yeah, no, well said. I've seen crowdfunding videos spend like $50,000, $100,000 on video and then make like $150,000 on their campaign. And so it's not a good time. It's not a good time. And so, I definitely totally agree. It's like, there is a time and a place to take it to that level. But again, it does take a lot of like learning and effort. Cause that's the thing, is like, you see a video, you see a Harmon Brothers video, you see a raindrop video, and you're like, oh yeah, I can do that. That's easy. No, like, comedy is so hard. It is so hard.
The whole thing is so much harder and I think that, and that's why I keep referencing Mark's video, or presentation yesterday, because it was a little bit of like a scared straight video, because, you're like, you're watching it and you're like, oh man, I didn't think about all those things. I didn't think about shipping being 15% of my costs and the platform fees and how much it all starts adding up. And so it's like, it really is just like one thing at a time, but knowing I'm shocked by the number of brands that are doing $15 million run rates, $20 million run rates. They're calling us for the first time to do something that's like bigger. And I'm like, what were you thinking when you hit 5? Like, it's time to go. And so, you know, I think a lot of people just don't know. And plus Harmon Brothers stuff starts at like 250, 300 million. Oh, so,
300,000. Yeah.
But yeah, so, and I mean, not to brag, but we've been more successful than in the last 18 months with our videos.
Yeah.
We got the top performing ads. So it's really fun.
Nice. So unfortunately, we are out of time here. If people want to connect with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
So you can go to raindropmarketing.com and the contact form there still goes to me. We don't have a sales team at this point. We've grown to the size based on our success and our referrals. Thank you for chatting it down there. And then of course you can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there as well and share a lot of tips, tricks. I got a presentation I'll be doing soon on different D2C business models that I'm really excited about. If you have a $25 product versus a $500 product, how to think about the approach to scaling. And I'm excited to.
That's awesome.
So thanks for having me. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in, and thank you so much, Jacques. That was just a wealth of information, and can't wait to talk to you again very soon.
Good luck, guys. I'll see you all on the moon, right? Let's scale to the moon.
Let's go. Take care, everybody.